You booked the family reunion at the hotel I own, and you didn't even know it. They said I disappeared, cropped me out of the photos, told themselves I chose a small, quiet life. But while they erased my name, I was quietly building an empire. I used to scrub floors in cheap hotels. Now I sign the contracts they celebrate under. If you've ever been quietly cut out by the people who were supposed to love you, this story will show you how to reclaim your voice, without revenge, without applause, just power in silence. Because the night they toasted under chandeliers I approved, the screen lit up. Founded by Emily Carson. They searched for someone important, but they never looked in the mirror. Don't wait for a seat at their table. Build your own. Watch now, because your silence might be the beginning of everything. Before we dive into the story, if you're enjoying these meaningful stories, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you never miss out on more. Now, let's start the story together. The envelope sat on my desk like it had every right to be there. Creamy white with gold trim, expensive in that old money kind of way. It wasn't the invitation that caught me off guard. It was the text that followed 3 minutes later. Hi, Em. Lindsay here. Just wanted to give you a heads up. We had to trim the guest list a bit for the reunion. Space at the hotel is super tight. Hope you understand. She always did love emojis. Even when erasing someone, Lindsay found a way to soften the blow with sparkles and hearts. I read the message twice, then let the phone fall gently onto my desk, face down. The envelope remained unopened. I didn't need to check the return address. I knew the hotel, Eastmark. I had signed off on their booking 2 weeks ago. The Carson family reunion package, reserved under the Platinum corporate tier. All-inclusive. I had even initialed the event authorization myself, right under the approved by line. Emily Carson. I hadn't used that name in years. Not out loud. Not since the night my name mysteriously disappeared from a slideshow at Mom's retirement dinner. Not since the family newsletter started listing only Jason and Lindsay's 3 daughters under the holiday updates, conveniently omitting their cousin who once spent summers setting the table for all of them. It's funny how families edit the parts they find inconvenient. I stood up, walking to the floor-to-ceiling windows of my office, where the Hudson rolled slow and confident beneath the June sky. From here, New York always looked like it had secrets. So did I. I built a hospitality portfolio while they posted matching t-shirts and pool selfies. I expanded the Carson Trust's forgotten holdings into what is now Whitmore and Carson Properties. Hotels, spas, conference venues, and yes, Eastmark. They booked the space through the public channel, of course. No one in the family ever thought to ask me for anything. I was the odd niece, the too quiet one, the girl who once ironed tablecloths while others practiced toasts. Now I signed the contracts they celebrated under. The irony wasn't lost on me. Neither was the opportunity. I picked up the envelope, still sealed, still pristine. No need to open it. I already knew everything printed inside. Dates, times, the suite arrangements. I even approved the centerpieces, deep blue hydrangeas with white anemones. Lindsay had excellent taste. She just had no idea who she was buying it from. In a folder on my desktop sat the final confirmation. Catering preferences, welcome speeches, room assignments. Page 12 carried my signature. Bold, neat, final. I returned the envelope to the desk, then paused. I don't need a seat at their table. I own the room they're sitting in. My resume never mentioned it, but the real education came with a name tag and a bottle of bleach. Back in 2015, while everyone in the family thought I was chasing some liberal arts degree at Cornell, I was enrolled in a different kind of classroom. My courses were taught by elevator buttons that didn't work, guests who screamed over missing towels, and managers who didn't remember my name. But I remembered theirs. That year, I left the Carson Foundation internship and turned down a promised spot at the family firm. Finance wasn't for me, not because I couldn't handle numbers, but because I saw value in things my father dismissed. "You think too small," Dad said when I packed my bags. This hospitality thing, serving people, is a waste of your education. He didn't see people. He saw portfolios. I started at a budget hotel in Brooklyn, 8 floors, no elevator. My arms got strong fast and my nose forgot what fresh air smelled like. Every morning, I'd push a squeaky cart loaded with supplies down narrow hallways, with wallpaper peeling in corners. I learned that kindness often arrived in tired forms, a folded dollar left on a pillow, a thank you whispered by someone checking out after 3 sleepless nights. Once, during a slow shift, my phone buzzed. It was a photo from Lindsay, her wedding. Everyone in white and gold, all smiles. I had been there, quiet in the back, seated 2 rows behind the flower girls. But in the photos she shared, I didn't exist. Later that day, someone forwarded me a screenshot from the family group chat, a cropped image of a server clearing plates, my name tag, Emily, blurry but visible on my chest. The caption read, "Guess she got what she wished for." I didn't delete the photo. I saved it in a folder labeled Proof I Was There. By 2018, I was tired. Not broken, just worn thin in ways you can't always see. I left the city for Vermont chasing a job post that promised nothing fancy. Part-time front desk, housekeeping, sometimes kitchen prep. The inn was old, tucked behind rows of birch trees, and run by a couple named May and Ron. They didn't ask for credentials. They asked if I was willing to help and if I liked blueberry pancakes. I said yes to both. Ron fixed everything with duct tape and determination. May left tea bags in every room, just in case. They paid me in odd jobs and let me stay in the attic loft. There was no TV, but the window faced a slope where deer wandered through at dusk. For the first time in years, I didn't feel erased. I learned how to read guests before they spoke. I learned the smell of grief, how it lingered in sheets long after checkout. I learned that trust builds slowly like snow collecting on pine branches. When they retired, May said, "You already run the place, you may as well own it." And I did. I bought the inn. Not through inheritance, not with favors, but with saved paychecks, meticulous spreadsheets, and the quiet endorsements of guests who remembered my name. I renamed it Alan House. The first welcome cards I printed were simple. Cream-colored, black ink, the words, "You're here now, you can rest." It started with 1 room, then 10, then the phrase traveled. People shared it, wrote it down, quoted it. I saw it appear on review sites and travel blogs. No one knew its origin, but I did. Success was quieter than I imagined, because it wasn't for them to clap for. People think success comes with noise, a podium, a plaque, a crowd that knows your name. But mine arrived in silence. In the early hours before guests checked in meetings where no one asked who was behind the title E. Carson Holdings, in the moments when I chose lavender over citrus for the lobby diffuser and no one noticed, but they always returned. The Vermont Inn gave me footing. Maine gave me scale. New Hampshire gave me vision. Each boutique property was folded gently under the Alan name, each acquired through meticulous budgeting, reinvestment, and quiet alliances. I didn't need applause. I needed control. At Alan HQ, a glass-paneled building off a sleepy road in Portland, the meeting rooms were lined with linen samples and lighting mock-ups. Between fabric binders, I tucked the one thing I'd never frame, my first name tag, Emily, housekeeping. I kept it, not to remember where I started, but to remind myself who I built this for. When Maya, our event manager, confirmed the Carson family reunion booking at Eastmark, she mentioned the contact seemed a bit entitled. I smiled. Of course she was. Lindsay had emailed the family thread, beaming that the hotel owner recognized our name and gave us a generous rate. She didn't know the discount came with 20% more than the usual hospitality, not less. I made sure the linens were crisper, the lighting warmer, the staff briefed for perfection. Let them believe it was legacy. That's what they always cared about. 2 days before the event, I drafted a message and sent it to Aunt Lorraine. "If you're going, come at 6:25 sharp. Don't let them wander early. It matters." She didn't reply, But the message was marked, "Read," and that was enough. They always assumed upgrades were favors or luck. But this one had been earned, with years of effort and silence. The marble floors of Eastmark gleamed brighter this morning, catching the soft sway of orchids near the front desk. Everything was ready, and no one had a clue. I arrived early, earlier than usual, even for me. Maya was already there, clipboard in hand, a latte warming one palm. "Floral requests came in again," she said, not looking up. "Lindsay wants peonies only, none of those filler greens." "Treat them kindly," I murmured, "not delicately." We moved through the checklist: lighting, acoustic cues, catering tables, wine labels. I barely spoke. The ballroom carried the weight of a story only I knew. Every corner had once been mine to clean. I remembered scrubbing the corners of that room on hands and knees, back when I was just another name tag to ignore. Maya didn't ask why I paused beside the sweet welcome cards. She just waited. I slipped the generic Carson family insert from each envelope and replaced it with cards I'd written last night. Simple words printed in soft gray ink. "We hope your stay reminds you where you come from and what was never truly lost. EC." They wouldn't know what the initials meant. Not yet, but they would feel it. In the back office, Maya pulled up the VIP assignment sheet. "Lindsay's suite is prepped, room 1121. Welcome drinks, lavender pillow mists, the works." "No," I said gently. "Assign that to the ambassador arriving from DC. She's pregnant on her 3rd trimester. She needs the quiet." Maya blinked, confused, but nodded. Then Lindsay, room 903. Still luxurious, still lovely, but smaller. It had once been a double suite. I remembered cleaning that very room while a woman barked into her Bluetooth headset about rehearsal dinners and signature linens. Her voice had carried through the walls. I knew that voice now. It had been Lindsay. It wasn't about revenge. It was about understanding placement. I reached into my leather satchel and pulled out the framed housekeeping badge I kept tucked between notes and floor plans. I didn't need to display it. I just needed it nearby. "Final confirmation?" Maya asked as she double-checked the main entrance schedule. I nodded. "They'll arrive tomorrow. Treat them like royalty." "And you," I smiled, "I'll be the one holding the doors, quietly, from above." Maya didn't ask more. That was why I trusted her. That evening, after final walkthroughs and last-minute guest list tweaks, I stayed behind a little longer. I walked through the ballroom alone, fingers grazing the linen runners, listening to the soft hum of preparation. No applause, no spotlight, just the sound of power taking its place without announcement. Let them enter thinking they belonged, that they earned this. Let them enjoy it. Tomorrow, I'd greet them as the host they never expected, and the one they no longer recognized. They scanned the room looking for someone important. No one ever looked in the mirror. The ballroom shimmered under soft amber lights. Crystal glasses caught the glow, polished to perfection. Around me, guests floated between tables. Conversations dipped in rehearsed elegance and tight smiles. The Carson family had always known how to perform, but tonight, they didn't know who had written the script. Lindsay stood near the center table, wrapped in her usual radiance. "The hotel gave us a special deal," she beamed to a group of aunts. "They recognized our name." She laughed like she always had, sharp, just a bit too loud. She didn't know that I had approved the linens she praised, that the citrus sage cocktail she sipped was taste-tested by me last week, that I had spent months shaping this night to reflect one thing, that I was never gone. I just stopped waiting for permission. At exactly 7:15, the house lights dimmed. Laughter softened. A few heads turned. A hotel manager, one I had promoted myself, approached Lindsay's table with a practiced smile. The owner would like to begin the welcome presentation now. A screen blinked on at the far end of the room. Music faded. Words appeared in quiet confidence. Eastmark Hotel, founded by Emily Carson, Chief Executive Officer, E. Carson Group. It landed with the soft impact of truth. delayed but undeniable. A fork clattered to the floor. Someone gasped. "Wait, what?" another voice whispered. I stepped forward from the side landing. My navy dress blended with the shadows at first, but when I reached the center, no one looked away. My heels echoed across the polished floor. Calm, certain. "You didn't see me," I began, voice even, "because you stopped looking. But I never left." The room held its breath. "You told people I disappeared. You cropped me from your photos. You told yourself I chose something small, something beneath our name. But while you erased my story, I was writing one of my own." They didn't move. Not yet. "This hotel," I continued, "this evening, it's yours to enjoy. But know that it stands because I worked for it when no one believed I could. Not for revenge, but because I believed in more than legacy. I believed in people." Maya began circulating the room, placing a sleek black folder on each table. Inside, the full event contract. At the final page, a single line read, "Sometimes the story you tried to erase still finds its way to the wall." Aunt Lorraine opened hers slowly. Her eyes lingered on the signature. Then she looked at me, not with surprise, but with something far older, recognition. No one clapped. No one needed to. I didn't demand applause. I simply reclaimed the silence. Dad had once warned, "Don't make people uncomfortable." But I've learned, truth doesn't ask for comfort. It demands presence. And now, finally, they were all present. Some people build empires for applause. I built mine so no one could erase me again. The morning after the reunion was quiet. Rain tapped gently against the tall windows lining the back service hall. I walked alone past linen carts and mop sinks, the air thick with the scent of brewed coffee and lemon cleaner. There was no applause left to chase and no spotlight to stand beneath, only silence and the kind of peace that knows its name. I skipped the post-reunion brunch. Let them perform that curtain call without me. Instead, I took the service elevator down to the staff floor, the buttons lit beneath my fingers. Every floor I passed reminded me I belonged here, not just as a guest, not even just as a boss, but as someone who built every step from the base. A young woman stepped out from the break room as I walked in. Her uniform was crisp, sleeves rolled neatly. "Morning, Miss Carson." "Emily's fine," I said. "You remind me of someone I used to be." She smiled politely, not quite understanding. That was okay. She didn't have to. I moved past the vending machine, toward the old wooden wall where staff coats still hung. Near the end, where the light didn't quite reach, was a small brass hook. Empty. From my bag, I took the name tag. Emily. Housekeeping. The corners were scratched, the plastic dulled, but the weight of it felt just right. I hung it there. Nothing grand, no frame. Just a name returning to where it started. It stayed. And so did I for a moment longer, breathing in the quiet hum of lives still working, still moving. Later that afternoon, when I returned to my office, an envelope lay atop my keyboard. No name, no stamp. Inside was a photo, printed, soft at the edges. I was maybe 8, holding a lemonade pitcher too big for my arms. My father's hand rested lightly on my shoulder. On the back, Aunt Lorraine had written, "You were part of us." I placed it in the drawer. Didn't call anyone. Didn't write back. Some truths don't need a reply. I opened my laptop. Among new messages sat one marked, "Carson Family Reunion, June 2024. Beneath it, I saw the reply to address, emily.carsongroupueastmark.com. They'll know. That's enough. As the rain thickened outside, I poured myself a cup of coffee from the staff pot. Burnt. Too strong, just how I remembered it. I stood near the window, watching the street blur into gray ribbons. I thought about how many days I had stood in places like this, unseen, unheard, but still absorbing everything. Every lesson, every slight, every detail, it all counted. This empire wasn't built in spite of being ignored. It was built because I paid attention. I didn't feel triumphant, I felt steady. No need to rewrite history, just to anchor it in places that matter. that hook on the wall, the folders in their hands, the reply to address. They were all quiet declarations. The young woman from earlier passed by again and paused, noticing the name tag for the first time. "Was that yours?" she asked. "Yes," I nodded. "It still is." She grinned. "I like that." Then she went on her way. I lingered a little longer, not to hold on, but to let go the right way. Some names are meant to be whispered, not erased. Hanging that old tag wasn't about the past. It was about honoring how far I'd come. Sometimes, the greatest strength is not in confronting those who wronged us, but in quietly outgrowing the space they once held. Family can fail us, but we don't have to fail ourselves. And maybe, just maybe, peace isn't in being seen, but in finally seeing yourself whole. If this story resonated with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Feel free to share your reflections. Sometimes one quiet voice can echo in powerful ways.